everybody. Welcome to another episode of All the WrestleManias. I'm your co-host, Tim Hackman.
And I'm your co-host, Rich Sigwald.
Thanks for being with us. We're always excited to talk to you. We hope you caught our recent episodes on the ECW Barely Legal show from 1997. That was a banger. I took up smoking after watching that episode. That was a lot of fun. And I hope you also caught our episode with Johnny the Reason Elliott, one half of the VCW Tag Team Champions. And we're here today to talk to his partner, the other half of that fabled tag team energy. I want to welcome today's guest. He is, of course, hailing from a gated community. Inside of a gated community, he is the champion of the 1%. He is one half of the current VCW Tag Team Champions energy, along with Johnny Elliott. He is a former VCW heavyweight champion, and I'm sure he will tell you all about his many, many other amazing accomplishments. His most recent match was a handicap match with The Reason, ganging up on poor old Brandon Scott, good friend of the show. I feel bad for him. He got a raw deal. That was at VCW's Nightmare on Granby show back a couple weeks ago in October. And, of course, his next match is coming up in Alexandria, Virginia. VCW makes its sort of Northern Virginia debut. That's super exciting. It's the Leonard Chick Armstrong Rec Center, Saturday, November 11th. They got a couple big guest stars on that card. Laroux, who's, of course, the former AEW Women's World Champion, and Wheeler Yuta, who's a big-time AEW star and member of the Blackpool Combat Club. Tickets and all that stuff at VCWProWrestling.com. I'm going to make the trek all the way from Norfolk. Rich has gotten permission from the wife to come see it on her birthday weekend, so he's risking possible separation or divorce to check it out. So anyway, we want to welcome to the show Logan, Easton, Laroux. Welcome to the show, Logan.
All right, thank you, Rich. I hope the marriage stays intact regardless of your weekend escapade.
I mean, I'm going to argue that we got to keep it together for the child, but I do have a lawyer on retainer just in case. So
glad to hear.
Yeah. And if it breaks up over wrestling, that's an irreconcilable differences situation. That's I think you get both cars in that situation, right?
Well, since one of the cars is only my name, yes.
See? Yeah. So Logan, we appreciate you being here. We talked to your partner, like I said, a couple weeks ago. He was a little bit less than forthcoming about his some of the shenanigans of the Energy Tag Team, but we won't. I don't know if we'll get into that too much, but. This show, the Alexandria show, is sort of being billed as kind of the start of you sort of winding down a little bit with your wrestling career in VCW and maybe your last show in Northern Virginia. So are we really approaching the end for you, and how are you feeling about that transition?
Yes, we are really, really approaching the end. I'm planning to finish out some bookings to the end of this year, but this is it, at least for now, for me in professional wrestling. This show in Alexandria is really special to me. As I was talking to you guys earlier, I'm from Reston, Virginia, Northern Virginia area. I live in Fairfax. And my opponent on that night, Wheeler Yuta, was handpicked. Somebody I have a lot of history with, somebody I wanted to go out. Hopefully he can carry me into a good match in front of friends and family and you VCW fans.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I think you guys have styles. I think that'll make a really good match. I think it'll be a nice sort of mix of things going on in this particular match. So I'm excited to see it.
What's driving this decision to hang up the boots?
I'm old, man. I'm 33. I've been doing this since I was 16, and nothing too major, knock on wood, but bumps and bruises are starting to add up a little bit, and it feels like I've accomplished a lot that I wanted to. Of course, there's always going to be things that I wish I had done or wish I accomplished that I haven't, but I think the writing's kind of on the wall. I think it's time for me to move on to a different phase of my life.
So is it just Jerry pushing you too hard? Is that what's happening?
It was all Jerry's fault. No, nothing like that. No, I mean, like I said, I've been doing it since I was 16. I'm 33 now, so 17 years. Plenty of time on the road. I was driving home from a show a few months ago, and I was just like, it was raining, and this isn't an unfamiliar experience for me, but at this point in my life, I was just like, man, there's nothing I would rather not be doing right now than driving home from New Jersey in the pouring rain at like midnight on a Sunday.
I think we've all had that feeling about just driving home from New Jersey in general.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would hang up my career over that, but I get it. It hurts.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
16 years is a long time to do anything, let alone something sort of as physically demanding and, just all the, like you said, all the miles and all the wear and tear and all of that guy with the bullhorn yelling at you that you suck. What's with that dude?
I don't know.
He's,
I when I started a few years fairly early into my career, I kind of earned a spot at VCW, and I believe that guy with the bullhorn was there over 10 years ago when I was still just a young whippersnapper, and he's still there today. So I couldn't tell you where he got the bullhorn or what the story is, but I appreciate his patronage to the VCW crowd.
Did you nick his car in the parking lot or something? Like,
Have you seen that guy? And you've seen me? You think I would nick his car? Come on,
yeah.
get real.
that guy is the truth. I fucking love that guy.
I do too.
He's there every show. He doesn't get the bullhorn out for anybody but you. It's like
I didn't
he'll
realize
watch
that,
the whole
actually,
show.
but
He'll watch the whole show, and then you're the main event or whatever. And you get, here comes the bullhorn. Hey, Logan, you suck, Logan. Like for the entire time that you're up there, I admire his commitment. I think maybe we should get him on the show. We should.
be awesome. Yeah.
Try track him down, see what you did to him. Like, did
I
you
like
sleep
to know
with his
people
wife
definitely listen
or
in.
hit his dog or something? I'm
maybe we could arrange like a mediation or something. You guys could come on and we could talk it through and
Like that, the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels DVD face to face type thing.
could hug it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then, so we're starting at the end. So maybe we can back up a little bit to the beginning. 16 years. So how did you get started? How did you get involved the first time around? And where did you go for training when you got into the business originally?
Sure. I mean, I don't think I have a very unique or exciting story, but I started training when I was 16 at a place called Kaida Pro Wrestling under Christian York, Bobby Shields, Johnny Elliott, The Reason, John Kerman, Jimmy Cicero. Since I was 16, my mom had to sign off on the sheet. I saved up $2,000 working in an ice cream store. My mom's agreement with me was if I took the SATs and I applied to 2 colleges, she would sign the waiver. I don't think she realized quite what wrestling fully entailed for my spine and neck, but she agreed to do it. She held good to her end of the deal. I held good to my end, and off we went through training. One of the stars of the upcoming Alexandria show, another Northern Virginia native, Nyla Rose, who's now in AEW, she was in my graduating class as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Always good to see her, and love to see her on TV and doing as well as she is for herself.
Yeah, we really liked her. She was off for a while, and then she's been back on a little bit more. And I like seeing her go. I think she's got the whole package.
Yeah,
and
she
she's really,
always when we started, God, back in like 2007, we had like a decent sized training group. I couldn't maybe 15 people or something, and all of us were just like, except for her, I'd say most of us were either like boring ass wannabe Chris Benoit's or like guys who'd watched too much mid 2000 Ring of Honor, which is very different than later Ring of Honor with characters. There's a lot of like Matt Striker, not the teacher, the unibrow Matt Striker, and like very wannabe technical type guys and stuff like that. And Nyla always just like promos, personality, all that kind of stuff. She'd blow us out of the water.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So coming out of training, then, so what was kind of your first name, your first gimmick? I know you've had a few over the years.
Had many, yeah. I think so. My first match, I was still training, but in Virginia, there's a commission. I couldn't wrestle until I turned 18. So my first match, I had to lie about my age in Pennsylvania, and I was the man of the hour, Logan Hodge, descendant of Danny Hodge, which is just a name. I know who Danny Hodge is. If you guys aren't familiar, he's an old wrestler, real collegiate wrestler and boxer, but also a professional wrestler out of, I believe, Oklahoma. But anyway, the guy who owned the training school was watching, like, this goes back, WWE 24/7, was like, oh, they were talking about this, like, old shooter, Danny Hodge, and you kind of look like him, so you'll be Logan Hodge. I was like, all right. I wrestled at SWA in Blue Summit, Pennsylvania, age 17. Like, the trainer sat me down. He was like, you don't tell anybody your real age when you get there. If anybody asks, you're 18, and you left your wallet in the car, so you can't show an ID to anybody. But it was an awesome experience. Like, I was still in high school. I had a whole bunch of my friends drive into that Blue Ridge Mountains, probably like an hour and a half from where we lived, and just it was a crowd of like maybe 40 people, and I would say at least 15 of them were my shitty high school friends, just excited to see me body slam and Hurricane Rana away.
That's awesome, man. That's how it goes, right? That's
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't. There's so many people. Like going back to talking about that training class of give or take like 15 people of that group. I guess at least 10 probably never fully got to the point to being able to wrestle in front of a crowd. Which I think anybody who signs up for training, like that's the almost the bare minimum goal for most people would just be to wrestle. But it is, I think we take for granted as wrestlers how difficult it can really be and how frustrating and everything. Not taken away from anybody who didn't get it that far, but like, fuck, sometimes it really sucks, man. And sometimes you come to the realization like, hey, maybe this isn't the thing I want to do. But not to be too negative about anything.
no, I get it. And well, and like you sort of alluded to, it takes a sort of commitment, that like it kind of it's hard to do at sort of a kind of half-assed level, right? Either you're sort of all in or you're not, right?
I think so. And I think with that too, like if you do want to compete, if everybody else has that mindset, you got to step it up as much as you can, much gym time, promo time, whatever. You really got to, either you're all in or you're all out, or not all out, but or you're just not in. And that's kind of another reason that I feel like I need to take a step back because I don't feel as motivated as I had in the past. This match on the 11th, though, I'm all in 100%.
So I'm looking at your profile on cagematch.net.
I got some bad reviews on there, but go on.
Well, I'm not looking at the reviews because everybody on the internet is just angry all the time. Right. Nobody leaves a review when they're happy about something. So that's why you can't read reviews about schools or apartments. Yeah. But so you went, looks like at one point by the name Barf.
Oh yeah, for the Masked Wrestler on IWTV.
How did you land on the name Barf? Or were you dressed as the character from Spaceballs, or was it just something like you were just told to be?
This would have been like, I want to say we shot this in like August of 2020, so kind of height of pandemic, no fans. IWTV is a company, a streaming independent wrestling service, and the owner of it was like, "Hey, I got this idea for a show that's kind of like The Masked Singer, but the Masked Wrestler." And he was like, "Your color's going to be green. Come up with some names for green." And I sent him a long list with what I thought were some cool names. Off the top of my head, I know one of them was The Amazing Zorro, which obviously was not picked. But Barf was one of them, just like, I don't know, put Barf on. And Jerry, who's the owner of IWTV, as soon as I sent him the list, he just circled Barf in like a screenshot and sent it back to me. And I became Barf. If you guys haven't seen it, though, I know the first episode of The Masked Wrestler is up on YouTube. In the first episode, it's me against Lee Moriarty, both of us under masks. But it's a pretty cool match. It was a really cool concept. And I think they've done 2 seasons. There might have been a third season, but I always thought it was a cool idea. And especially like, man, August of 2020, like that was another time in wrestling. I was just like, am I ever going to be able to wrestle again? Are we ever going to do that? I got pretty fat for myself at the time. And I remember like Lee he's a killer wrestler. And man, I was blown up in that match, especially in the bodysuit and the barf mask and all that. I felt like barfing for sure.
That would have been the ultimate gimmick, just
like draws in
yeah, puke.
Rest in peace.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have one other question about your gimmick names here. The other one is Blank.
Yeah.
And it looks like you wrestled by that name in Shikara.
Yes. So long story in Shikara. Me and Jonathan Elliott, the Reason, were a tag team in Shikara. I was Race Jackson. He was Hype Rockwell. Our tag team ended because I pushed the stage onto Hype because he kept hitting me during matches, very similar to the Rockers breakup. And after that, I became Young and Handsome Race Jackson. And Hype Rockwell came back, and he beat me in a loser has to wear a mask match. My handsome face was covered up by this mask, and I became the Artist Blank. And I've done that now for, I don't know, 5 years, something like that.
That is a shame. Cover up that
I know, man.
That gorgeous face yours,
The inspiration from it, from the owner of Chikara, Quack, and me, we were like spitballing back and forth ideas. And this is going to kind of, in some ways, sound a little bit lame because I feel like everybody in wrestling, it's like, what's your gimmick? And anybody that's not just like, I'm a shooter is like, oh, I'm like the Joker. But germ of the idea was in the 1989 Batman, if you're familiar. Joker's girlfriend, who he like first living, breathing homicidal artist with the white mask. That was kind of the start of the idea there.
Nice.
I don't know how much you guys like 1989.
Yeah,
One of my favorites.
you're talking to this is Nerd Central over here.
All right.
Yeah. That's a D&D dice tower behind me. That's the orange thing. So yeah, you got the nerds happening.
All right.
We don't talk about it too much on the show because we would like a woman to occasionally listen to it, but it's probably not going to happen.
Fair enough.
Michael Keaton's still the best Batman, though, right? I mean, are we?
I don't know if I can pick favorite. I mean, he's definitely like he's number one, but I would also say Christian Bale's number one. I love them both. I love them for different reasons, I feel like. But all I'm saying is Christian Bale didn't come back for that Flash money, and Michael Keaton did.
That's true. All right, interview over. And that's enough. I'm a big fan of the Christian Bale ones, but I got a real kick out of Keaton showing up in that Flash movie. I thought that was...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wish it was 2.5 hours of Michael Keaton Batman. I didn't hate it.
So Chikara is endlessly fascinating to me. I love the concept. I love the just sort of the over the top kind of goofiness of it almost. And we talked to the Boar on the show here, and of course he came up through Chikara. Did you guys overlap at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of matches with the Boar in Chikara as face race Jackson, heel race Jackson, blank. I wrestled him a ton of times in Chikara. He came up through the Chikara system. Me and Johnny never actually trained with Chikara. I think Johnny told the story about how we ended up there. I did one seminar. I thought it was cool, but nothing came of it. And then, I think a full year later, they were like, "Hey, we need somebody to be Owen Hart. Can you do that?" I was like, "Sure, I'll try." And then I worked there for 8 years until they closed afterwards, something like that.
That explains the photo of you.
Which one?
I found you were in Owen Hart's 90s gear when he tagged with Coco Beware. Yep. And it's like, oh, I get it now. So
high energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. It's finally all making sense and connecting over here. Okay.
Rich lives his life 30 minutes at a time. He's got that thing from Memento, actually. So we try to help him piece together through old wrestling clips.
Yeah, tattooed and don't trust Coco Beware somewhere.
Owen Hart still dead. He wakes up every morning and looks at that, and then he cries. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
So and then sort of since that, you've been kind of make appearances all up and down the East Coast, and you have any idea how many different promotions you've worked with over the years, and what's sort of the longest distance that you'll go for like a show?
Until December of this year, I will go as far as you will pay me to go. I could not tell you the number. I'm sure Cage Match has a number, but Cage Match also isn't super accurate. I have done appearances I would guess I've wrestled for maybe 30 companies, maybe more. 30 is going to be my ballpark answer.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's kind of you're sort of like a journeyman.
Yes,
I guess
definitely a journeyman is the way I would describe myself.
Yeah, because I'm seeing on your little list here that you worked with Flying V out of Silver Spring, which was the promotion that our first guest, Dr. Jess, mentioned being in love with. So she's probably seen you. And it looks like you worked with one of our favorites, Cheeseburger.
Yeah, I've wrestled Cheeseburger quite a few times. I love Cheeseburger. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
That guy's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also see Orange Cassidy on your list here.
Yes. Fun fact, I wrestled him as Blank in Beyond, and of Beyond, if you guys know Beyond Wrestling, their YouTube channel is really what blew them up. Between two male competitors, me and Orange Cassidy's match is the highest view count or most watched match they have between two male competitors. The last I checked, we were at 4.5 million views on that.
Holy cow!
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's almost Cocomelon levels here.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I love Orange Cassidy. It's kind of funny that's probably my most viewed match and will always be my most viewed match. I don't really like that match that I had with him there, but I've worked him other times and I had more fun. We wrestled at the Warped Tour actually in it was either Connecticut or New Hampshire. I know that's not going to be on Cage Match, but because it was basically just like, here's a ring. They called a few wrestlers and I don't know, put on a show. Every 10 minutes, throw a match out there and wrestle Orange Cassidy on it. And we saw 303. It was pretty awesome.
I would totally, I would pop for a wrestling show breaking out at a concert. I'd be like,
yeah,
it's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly, man.
I mean, the Smashing Pumpkins just did that recently, where Billy Corgan took his NWA on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, and people, I don't see much of a crossover between that audience. I can't imagine that there were people happy about that, but
he's proud.
You got to try it.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So then, how did the obviously we're talking about VCW, and maybe I should plug the thing again since we're circling back around. Of course, the VCW is going to be in Alexandria, Virginia, Saturday, November 11th, at the Leonard Chick Armstrong Rec Center. Wheeler Yuta, Nyla Rose, of course, our good friend Logan, all your VCW favorites. The Boar is going to be on there. We can hopefully watch Jerry get punched. I don't know. It's always a good time at the VCW show. So VCWProWrestling.com for your tickets. I started going when I moved to Norfolk last July, and I caught a show at the Masonic Temple, and then since then I've maybe only missed one or two. I try to. You guys have a good thing going, and I appreciate local wrestling. I appreciate independent wrestling, and I appreciate a promotion that, like, I don't know, just does a good job of sort of putting the package together for the fans and thinking about the experience from start to finish. So if you haven't seen VCW, it's a great time to check them out. I was going to just ask you how that affiliation came to be and sort of when you first got hooked up with them and how that journey's been for you.
Yeah, I would say VCW, I feel like since I've been wrestling at least now 16 years, they've always been kind of like the top of Virginia. Definitely like the most professional run and feeling promotion in Virginia. Like, of course, it's all independent wrestling, but you're not going to get there when it says bells at 7:30 and then it doesn't start till 8:15. And like the sound system isn't going to be down or you're never going to be there and there's no entranceway. It's just guys walking through a door or something like that. It's very professional. Level of wrestling, both in talent and behind the scenes there. I think the first show I did for VCW was a Liberty Lottery, and I want to say it was 2010 or 2011. The school I trained at, I went off to college. I finally turned 18. I went off to college, and I didn't too far to train regularly anymore. And then the training school I was at kind of closed. And what kind of sucked was I didn't really have any contacts outside of the people I trained with, and a lot of them kind of stopped wrestling. So it was hard for me, like you said, a journeyman. Like, there's plenty of shows I had to go, like, run camera, go set up a ring, go do security, whatever, and just, like, to get a foot in the door to try to get a match. And then, I got the opportunity with VCW to do just a Liberty Lottery, a Royal Rumble type show. And I don't know that I shit the bed, but I definitely didn't do anything too impressive to get a regular spot there. A few years later, I had more reps under my belt and I got better. And I worked as Mr. Class, and I kind of became a regular from like 2012 to 2016 or so.
Yeah, and then you've been on pretty much every show I've seen from them.
I hooked back up with them in 2021. I don't even know how you say fuck, I'm old. 2021. Yeah, and as far as I know, I think I've been on every show since November of 2021.
Seems like a great group of talent. I like that they've got people doing all sort of different kinds of styles, which I think is cool. Some promotions you go and it's all one thing, right? It's all like you said, it's all the shooters or it's all the jumping around, trampoline people or whatever. But I think they have a really good blend.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And especially like now in wrestling, a lot of like, not to disparage a company like Beyond or something, but a lot of those matches are very like, it's kind of like the indie dream match. And I think AEW style can be a lot like that too, where like every match is like 10 false finishes and the same strike exchange and this and that. And I think VCW really, there's a good blend on the card of, like you said, different styles, but also just like every match feels different than the previous match to it. And you're never going to be there and it's going to be like a 14 match marathon card. Like I love wrestling, but even if the wrestling is outstanding, I can't watch 14 matches in a row.
Yeah, the false finish thing always bothers Tim and I, and we've also, like, we actually kind of talked about it in our last episode when we watched ECW's Barely Legal. There was a match where a guy took the ring bell to the head, kicked out of the pin, and then he took a table to the head, kicked out of the pin, took a steel chair to the head and kicked out of the pin, but then a German suplex.
You can only take so much, man. Yeah,
was the finish. And so I guess it was like watching like playing Mortal Kombat, and like you've done all these moves and then the last thing you hit is like a jab on your opponent, and that took off the last bit of his hit bar. Like, well, that's kind of not satisfying.
Yeah.
You know, and from the VCW stuff that I've watched and had the pleasure of seeing live, it's definitely has a more kind of an old school feel to me. Like, it looks a lot like the WWF from like the mid to late 80s of the, you know, legit moves, taking time, telling the story in the ring, getting maybe one or two false finishes and to really build up the anticipation in the crowd, and you legit don't know how it's going to end and who's going to come out, and it allows for good suspension of belief and a good time for the crowd. So and that even goes for you. And when I held up a sign that said "Boo this man" when you came out, that was, you know, it was still a good time.
That was you?
And yes, that was me. I apologize. Kind
Interview's over, right?
Yeah. No, don't hang up. So yeah, we've also seen you on AEW. We were at the show in DC where you worked.
Okay.
So how does that connection come about for you? Do they contact you through an indie promoter, or do they contact you directly? Or
in my experience, they've always contacted me directly. Like I said, journeyman. I guess that's going to be like our buzzword for this podcast. But yeah, you know, I've been around. I've known a lot of people through Chikara, especially. There's a ton of people who worked at Chikara who now work in AEW. So when they come around locally, they send some emails, or they did. I don't know now without Dark and Elevation if this is going to be as common as it was, but they would pick up a lot of local talent to do enhancement matches like I've done, or just to do security, extra work, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we saw a few of their shows in the DC area. We saw at the DC Sports Entertainment Complex, and then also up at UMBC.
Oh yeah,
that's where I was working there at the time, and Rich went to school there actually. So we live not too far from there. So I think we saw the one where you were with Dalton Castle, maybe. I can't remember what show that was. That guy's a trip.
Yeah. I want to say that was DC, and then the UMBC, it was me, Cheeseburger, it sounds like friend of the show, and Rhett Titus against QT Marshall and his guys. I don't know if you guys were at that taping or not.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
yeah.
So do you it's just popped in my head. Do you write your matches down? Like, do you have like a log of all the shows and matches and stuff? Are you like Chris Jerichoing it up over there?
No, you know, I wish. And like, I used to tell myself I would do that and keep like a little note to remember each match or something that happened. And then I think I'm quitting at the end of this year. So in the 16 years, I never ended up following through with that promise to myself to do it.
I'm just surprised that you're like, oh yeah, that was DC, that was Dalton Castle, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then UMBC. I'm just really surprised that you can kind of reel those off, you know.
Like I said, fortunately, some head injury, but it's all jumbled somewhere back there. I kind of remember stuff.
So you don't have a giant spreadsheet keeping track of everything in your life?
All right. Boy does that with match ratings. I'll talk to him about old wrestling, and he'll tell me how many stars he gave it. And I'm like, oh, I just remember thinking that match was cool or that match wasn't cool. But
oh, that's funny. He didn't mention that when he was on. We should.
You gotta have him back on. You can go through.
We should get him back. Yeah, and let's talk about that spreadsheet, man. I want to make sure he's using formulas correctly and everything. That's
my wife and I keep a spreadsheet of every Broadway show we've seen and where we saw it, who produced it, and what theater it was in. Oh, so
that's cool. I can barely work in Excel, so that's never going to happen for me. But if it's like an analog version of it, maybe I could try.
How are you going to be the champion of the 1% if you can't keep track of your assets and expenses and all that stuff?
Yeah. Someone else can handle.
That's how you can tell he's wealthy. He doesn't know how much money he's got.
Exactly.
He just knows that he can afford it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Damn right.
Fine, buy it.
You pay people for that. And then, of course, the other big AEW appearance recently was you showed up. I'm sitting here in my living room. I'm watching Dynamite, and all of a sudden they're announcing Logan. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Wonder who he's going to wrestle. And then Wardlow comes out. I'm like, oh, I think I picked up my phone and texted Jerry. I just wrote R.I.P. Logan.
Yeah.
And that went about as we expected it to go. So
It did, yeah.
Is the Powerbomb Symphony the reason why you're hanging it up?
It's a reason for it. I actually, before AEW started, I wrestled Wardlow in like a scramble match up in Cleveland, and he F5'd me and another person at the same time. So
Jesus Christ,
he's a beast, man.
Yeah, it's not like you're some lightweight either.
No, I'm pretty close to 200 pounds, and the guy who was on top of me in this F5 was about similar size, if not a little bit bigger than me. So he's a very impressive individual.
Good
okay,
Lord.
that's nuts.
Yeah. No, thank you. Is that on YouTube somewhere? We got to see that. I think we're going to have to track that one down.
It's definitely on whatever the new fight streaming service is. I couldn't tell you the show, but it's AIW sometime in 2019, I think. Maybe 2018. Something like that.
So, Rich, do you want to ask the standard all the WrestleMania's questions here?
Sure. So we got the first one. Who is your favorite wrestler, and who are your biggest influences in the ring?
All right. Favorite wrestler. It changes all the time, but can I give you a top three?
Sure, whatever you want.
All right. It's got to be HBK, Shawn Michaels, and my weird pick is Austin Aries. Wait a minute. Did I just say HBK, Shawn Michaels? I'm sorry.
You sure did.
HBK, Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries. I apologize. Influences, though, Shawn Michaels is still definitely number one. I would say like 93 to 90, 92 to 95-ish Shawn Michaels. And then definitely like, unfortunately, it's kind of brief, but 97 to 98 DX heel Shawn Michaels. Absolute favorite of all time.
I can see that, I think, in your sort of your ring presentation and your approach. I could see that for sure.
I appreciate that. Other than him, Austin Aries, honestly, a lot of those mid-2000s Ring of Honor guys I'm a big fan of, even if I don't wrestle exactly like them. Tully Blanchard, Gino Hernandez. Nigel McGuinness is actually a pretty big one. I think I steal a little shit. If you're really careful and knowledgeable about Nigel, you can probably see some of my stealing.
Well, now we're going to have to look for it for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make a sign for Alexandria, and like every time we catch it, we'll hold it up like stolen from Nigel or something, just like a big old. That's cool. That's a pretty eclectic, pretty diverse group of favorites and influences.
I think you're the first on the show that hasn't said Macho Man.
No, I mean I do really like Macho Man. I should list him in my influences as well, but like HBK is for sure like number one. Yeah. All white guys under 6 foot. That's usually the answer.
So is there anybody that you've had the chance to work with who was especially meaningful, for you, and also anybody that, I know again you're winding down, but anybody you would have loved the chance to work with, or anybody who might make you reconsider hanging it up if the opportunity came up?
Yeah. The answer to the first one for both, there's a ton of people, but easy answer for both those is Sanjay Dutt. I wrestled him a ton of times. I learned a lot from him every single time we wrestled. Still huge inspiration. I would say, like, after I finished training school, I'd been wrestling a long time. He was like going to finishing school with him. He doesn't actually wrestle anymore either, but if I could get him out for one more match, I would definitely come back for one more match with him. Anything else that could pull me out would be a contract with a large dollar amount will get me to reconsider quitting.
I think anybody would agree to that.
Yeah.
Other guy, Bobby Shields is definitely, I think, an unsung guy in independent wrestling, but he helped me out a lot. Somebody I always loved wrestling. Somebody who I learned a lot from about wrestling, life, all that kind of stuff.
Like everybody that we've talked to has had that kind of connection, right, to somebody along the way, somebody that's really like sort of, taking them aside and showing them a few things, or just helped them navigate a particular section of their career. And that's one of the interesting things about, kind of the wrestling business, just as an outsider, it does seem like those kind of connections really sort of help you, kind of go from point A to point B.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, I mean, I haven't put a ton of thought into this, but it's kind of like, I don't know, a video game or something. Like you're at the level 1, and then you beat this boss or whatever, and you get this extra skill. It can be kind of like that, working with certain people that really make you level up, step outside, or think of another way to do something.
That's why I work with Rich.
Okay.
He makes me better every day.
That's kind of creepy. I don't know.
He makes me want to see Broadway shows. Not really.
Yeah.
No, I don't. You hate Broadway musicals, and I tried my best to talk you into seeing Hamilton at least, but
I like Jesus Christ Superstar, and that's the end of the list.
Anytime something gets broken into song, I'm out, typically.
Yeah. Anyway.
So are you watching much wrestling present? And what or who do you normally watch if you're watching?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not as religious about watching like Monday Night Raw anymore, but I still usually check out highlights, or I'm aware of what's happening. I do usually watch Dynamite, at least. People I really like to watch right now, I think Ilya Dragunov, that's the NXT kid. I think the guy is a killer. Related to him, I think it was a pandemic era no fans match, but him and Walter, I think, is one of the best WWE matches ever. One of the best matches, period, ever. Fuck, putting any kind of preface to that. Those guys just killed it. And I actually thought their match without fans was better than their takeover match with fans later, which was still phenomenal. But whatever that one without fans, I think in 2020 was amazing. So those two guys for sure. Walter is a guy like somehow it feels so cutting edge to watch him, but it's also this old school kind of wrestling that just he feels so fresh in 2023 wrestling. Keep it on the same track really as those two guys. Drew Gulak, always, he's another guy that I actually learned a lot from wrestling and training with in Chikara and elsewhere. But I love watching him wrestle. Similar to Walter too. Everything he does feels very natural, I think, in wrestling. What else is there? I could watch Darby Allin matches until the end of time. Like I said, I grew up a huge Jeff Hardy fan. I feel like he is kind of the legacy to Jeff Hardy in a lot of ways.
So I mean, we watch those matches, and I cringe watching him a lot of the times. I'm like, how is this dude not breaking his entire spine in half every single match? And I mean, obviously know some of the tricks and stuff, but still, like, I mean, does that give you like the heebie-jeebies to watch him like it does us?
Yeah, I think to his attitude is just kind of live fast, die young. Is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, he's kind of a mix of Jeff Hardy and Mick Foley. Like it's this, like the casket match where he had the thumbtacks on the top of the casket, and oh god, thumbtacks just make my legs tingle when they come out. And I still have
once with Sanjay Dutt. I gave him a cutter onto some thumbtacks in a cage match once, but
I still have PTSD from that Undertaker Mankind match.
Oh yeah.
So but you were talking about Walter Gunther, whatever, and like you're right. He is like a breath of fresh air coming in, because it's like he looks and presents like an old school shooter.
Yep.
It's an approach that WWE hasn't had in a very long time, like since like the Steiner brothers, maybe a little bit of Kurt Angle, because he did a lot of shoot type of stuff when he was with someone in the ring that could. But like Walter doesn't care. He's going to chop the living shit out of you, and he's going to take you to school, and he's going to stretch you. And that is something that WWE is desperately needed in their presentation, I think. And I think the sky's the limit for that guy, as long as he doesn't screw up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you mention those matches with Ilya. Those were symphonies, honestly. Like, if sometimes it's easy for people who don't pay attention to kind of laugh at wrestling a little bit, right? And like, but sometimes you can show them something like that, and it's just like, just watch this and tell me that this isn't like the baddest fucking thing you've seen in a long
definitely.
time.
To me, that's the measure of like a truly, truly great match. Is the kind of match you could show to somebody that doesn't think they have any interest in wrestling, and they can be not just like, oh, it was kind of cool, but like truly engaged and like, I want this guy to win. I know this is fake, but like that movie effect. I want Martin McFly to get back home, you know? Can you grab that person and make them care?
All right, so this is all the WrestleManias, so we have to wrap up by asking you, do you have an all-time favorite WrestleMania?
I do. Yeah, I do, actually. X7, I think, is clearly, like, that's everybody's, right? When I was a kid, that was one of the first VHSs I bought with my own money, and I watched it all the time. But I will not say X7 is my favorite. I'm actually going to say WrestleMania 21 is my favorite, because at top to bottom, I think it is a fantastic card. I think Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels is up there, probably like a top 3 of all time match for me. It's not Eddie and Ray's best match, but it's a great opener. I think the Money in the Bank, the original, is still maybe the best one. Every single match on that show, except maybe the sumo thing, really accomplishes something pretty awesome. And, you know, it's the coming in of the new guard and 2 megastars now, 2 guys that are taking over Hollywood now, like clearly mega stars in Batista and John Cena winning the titles, becoming top guys.
That's a good one. I can't remember how many stars we gave that one when we reviewed it.
I don't think we were too into that one. Mainly, the Trish Stratus versus Christy Hemme dragged it down, and we weren't too impressed by the Batista versus Triple H main event. But yeah,
that one, that card,
that one, the Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels match is one of those that I think you could show somebody and be like, this is professional wrestling. Tell me you're not engaged and involved in this. And I think that was the one that made us also be like, man, maybe we really like Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Because awesome. At the time I just didn't get it with Kurt Angle. I didn't get it. But then with this podcast, we've gone back and watched a bunch of his stuff, especially his match with Eddie Guerrero. And we're just like, this dude is crazy. This dude is good and he's solid. And he is similar to what I was saying about Walter / Gunther, that he was something different on the card than like you're just normal big muscle bound guy that does 2 moves and a finisher. He's got a full arsenal, and they never really shrank that arsenal on him. Like they took moves away from Triple H, they took moves away from The Rock and John Cena. Like John Cena did a bunch of stuff, and then by the end, John Cena does the knuckle shuffle. He does a flying body press occasionally. Then the rest of the time, he's just punching. But they never like put a leash on Kurt Angle.
He rocks.
So we're kind of wrapping up here, and is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything you wanted to plug? Obviously, we'll plug the Alexandria show again, but
no, not really. Definitely coming out to that Alexandria show, November 11th. You got all the details, vcwprowrestling.com for tickets. I know they're going pretty quick. Front row's already gone, and general admission, it's a limited space. So please get on those tickets. I promise I will do my best to not suck on that night and have a killer match with Leo Yuta. And it would mean a lot to me for everybody to come out.
Yeah, Rich and I will be there. We'll be making all kinds of unholy noise. Maybe we'll bring signs. Maybe we'll see if that guy has an extra bullhorn or something. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out.
Awesome.
So
do you have any post-retirement plans here? Are you going to start a public speaking tour like The Undertaker, or your own bottled water company or something?
I start a cult or something like that. I don't know.
That's cool. A good plan.
No, I'm married. I live a normal life in real life. I do jujitsu. I'll probably get a little more involved. I've competed here and there in jiu-jitsu. I'm 33 and I've been wrestling 16 years, but I might decide to start competing again in jiu-jitsu a little bit.
Have you seen Car-Jitsu?
No, I don't think so.
So I highly recommend you Googling that. So that appears to be some sort of new underground thing that's coming up, like slap fighting. But it's 2 people that are trained in jiu-jitsu. They start off buckled into the front seat of the car next to each other, and then the point is to fight completely inside the car, using anything in the car to get the other person to tap out.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. It sounds great.
It's very brutal. The couple videos I saw involved like choking with the seatbelt.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's intense. I highly recommend.
We're not advising you to do that. We care about your physical health. We don't think you should do that. So, don't endanger yourself just for Rich's enjoyment. He's a sick individual. It's not your responsibility to keep him entertained.
Yeah, I do also enjoy slap fighting. It's weird. I don't know why, but two dudes standing over an oil barrel, like slapping each other in the face. I don't know what it is.
It
Gets me going.
Like CTE, it's like getting an acid flashback, but it's like a concussion flashback. When I see that, I can't watch it. It bothers me.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No.
All right, we're wandering off topic. I think Rich is getting tired. His toddler's going to have some more problems, I'm sure, so we should probably let him get to bed. But Logan, Easton, Laroux, we really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about your really impressive career. 16 years in the business is a long time. We wish you all the best. We wish you great success at the Saturday, November 11th show in Alexandria, Virginia. Get your tickets at VCWProWrestling.com. You can come see Logan, you can come see Wheeler Yuta, Nyla Rose, the whole rest of the VCW card. It's always a good time. So for now, we're all the WrestleManias at, where the hell are we? We're at allthewrestlemanias.com. You can always shoot us your questions, your comments, your complaints, your questions for Logan that we'll text to him so you can ignore at allthewrestlemanias@gmail.com. You can, of course, find us on the various social media platforms. If you want to support the show, you can find us at ko-fi.com/allthewrestlemanias, at WrestleMania Pod on the X. I think that's all the things to plug. But so for this evening, thanks again, Logan. I'm your co-host, Tim.
And I'm Rich.
And we'll see you later, everybody.
Thank you, guys.